Megan Lawson did not want to be on Korath Prime. She wanted to be back on Earth, in her small apartment in Ohio, drinking coffee and watching old movies. But the research grant paid well, and she needed the money. So here she was, floating in a metal box above an alien world, studying creatures that could rip her apart with one swipe of their claws. The research station, Artemis, had been in orbit for 6 months now. It was a joint project between humanity and the Vexari, one of the first real attempts at cooperation between the two species. The Galactic Council had arranged it. They wanted humans and Vexari to learn about each other. They wanted peace. Megan was not a diplomat. She was a xenobiology technician. Her job was to study Vexari biology, take samples, run tests, and write reports that nobody would ever read. It was boring work, but it kept her away from the political meetings that happened every day in the main hall. The Vexari scared most humans. Megan understood why. They were tall, almost 8 feet, with black scales that covered their entire bodies. They had 4 eyes that glowed amber in the dark. Their claws were sharp enough to cut through steel. When they spoke, their voices rumbled like distant thunder. Everything about them said predator. The diplomats from Earth kept their distance. They smiled and shook hands and said the right words, but Megan saw how they tensed whenever a Vexari came close. She saw how their eyes went to the claws, to the teeth, to the powerful muscles under those dark scales. They were afraid. Megan was afraid too at first. Then she started watching. The Vexari ambassador was named Korath. He was the largest of the delegation, with scars on his face and a deep voice that made the walls vibrate. The human diplomats called him dangerous. They said he was unpredictable. They said humanity should be careful around him, but Megan noticed things the diplomats did not notice. She noticed how Korath always stood between his people and the humans. Not in a threatening way. In a protective way, like a father standing between his children and strangers. She noticed how his claws flexed whenever anyone moved too fast near the smaller members of his group. She noticed how his eyes tracked every potential threat in the room. He was not looking for something to attack. He was looking for something that might attack them. The Vexari were not aggressive. They were careful. There was a difference. Megan kept this observation to herself. The diplomats would not listen to a technician. They had their own ideas about the Vexari, and those ideas were not going to change because of something she noticed. One evening, after a long day in the lab, Megan decided to take a walk. The station was large, with many corridors and sections she had never explored. Most areas were open to all personnel, but some were restricted. The restricted areas had signs and locked doors. Everyone was supposed to stay away from them. Megan did not mean to enter a restricted corridor. She was tired. She was not paying attention. She took a wrong turn somewhere near the cargo bay, and suddenly the walls looked different. The lights were dimmer here. The air smelled different, like metal and something else she could not identify. She should have turned back. She knew that. But something made her keep walking. The corridor ended at a large storage room. The door was open. Megan looked inside and saw crates stacked against the walls. Equipment, supplies, nothing interesting. Then she heard a sound. It was small, quiet, like a whimper. Megan stepped into the room. Her heart was beating fast now. She moved slowly between the crates, following the sound. It came from the back corner, behind a stack of metal containers. She found them there. 3 of them, Vexari cubs. They were small, about the size of large dogs. Their scales were not hard like the adults. They were soft, almost like leather. Their amber eyes were huge in their small faces, and right now, those eyes were filled with fear. The cubs pressed themselves against the wall. They were shaking. One of them made that whimpering sound again, a high-pitched noise that sounded nothing like the deep rumbles of the adult Vexari. Megan stood very still. She did not know what to do. She had never seen Vexari cubs before. She did not even know there were cubs on the station. Why were they here? Why were they hiding? Where were their parents? The smallest cub looked at her. Its eyes were wet. It was crying. Something inside Megan shifted. She did not think about protocols. She did not think about species barriers. She did not think about the claws that these cubs would grow into one day. She only saw 3 scared children, alone and afraid in a dark room. She sat down slowly, very slowly. She made herself small, non-threatening. The cubs watched her. They did not run. They did not attack. They just watched with those huge, frightened eyes. Megan reached into her pocket and pulled out a protein bar. She had been saving it for later. Now she opened it carefully and broke off a small piece. She held it out toward the cubs. The smallest one sniffed the air. Its nose twitched. It looked at the food, then at Megan, then at the food again. Minutes passed. Megan did not move. Her arm started to hurt from holding it out, but she did not lower it. Finally, the smallest cub crept forward. It moved on all fours, low to the ground, ready to run at any moment. It came close enough to sniff the protein bar. Then, very carefully, it took the piece from her hand. The cub ate quickly. When it was done, it looked at Megan with something that was not quite fear anymore. Curiosity, maybe? Or hope. Megan broke off another piece and offered it. This time, all 3 cubs came forward. She stayed with them for hours. She did not try to touch them. She did not try to move closer. She just sat there, sharing her food, letting them get used to her presence. By the end, the smallest cub had curled up next to her leg. It was still shaking a little, but less than before. Megan did not know it then, but that night changed everything. That night, in a dark storage room on a space station far from Earth, a human woman and 3 predator cubs formed a bond that would shake the galaxy. She should have reported them. That was the protocol. That was the rule. Instead, she came back the next night. And the night after that, the cubs were waiting for her. The attack came on a Tuesday. Megan remembered that later. Such a normal day. Such an ordinary word. Tuesday. She had woken up at her usual time, eaten her usual breakfast, done her usual work in the lab. Nothing felt different. Nothing warned her. She was with the cubs when it started. It had become her routine now. Every evening after her shift ended, she would slip away to the storage room. The cubs knew her now. They ran to her when she came through the door. The smallest one, the one she had started calling Little One in her head, always jumped up to press its head against her hand. That night she was sitting on the floor with all 3 cubs around her. She had brought dried fruit from the cafeteria. The cubs loved dried fruit. They made happy rumbling sounds when they ate it, tiny versions of the deep rumbles the adults made. Then the floor shook. The first explosion was somewhere far away, on the other side of the station. Megan felt it more than heard it. A vibration that ran through the metal under her. The cubs stopped eating. Their ears went flat against their heads. Alarms started screaming. The lights turned red. Emergency lights. The station AI spoke in a calm voice, but the words were not calm at all. Explosion in Sector 7. All personnel report to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Megan stood up fast. The cubs pressed against her legs, shaking hard now. They were scared. They did not understand what was happening. Neither did she. She needed to get to an escape pod. That was the protocol. When the alarm sounded, you went to the nearest escape pod and you waited for instructions. Simple, clear, everyone knew it, but the nearest escape pod was 3 corridors away. And she could not leave the cubs. The second explosion was closer. Much closer. The walls shook. Something cracked overhead. Dust fell from the ceiling. Megan grabbed the cubs and pulled them toward the door. They did not fight her. They were too scared to fight. They clung to her, their soft claws digging into her uniform. The corridor outside was full of smoke. People were running, screaming. Megan saw a man with blood on his face stumble past. She saw a woman carrying a child. Everyone was moving in different directions. Chaos. Pure chaos. She started running. The cubs ran with her, staying close to her legs. They were fast, faster than she expected. But they were also small, and the smoke was thick, and people kept pushing past them. They made it halfway down the corridor when the third explosion hit. This one was different. This one was right there. The wall to her left ripped apart. Fire came through. bright and hot and hungry. Metal screamed as it tore. The force of the blast picked Megan up and threw her backward. She hit the ground hard. The air left her lungs. For a moment she could not see anything, could not hear anything. Just white noise and white light and pain. Then the cubs screamed. That sound cut through everything else. High and sharp and terrified. The sound of children in pain. Megan moved. She did not think. Her body just moved. She pushed herself up, ignoring the agony in her back, ignoring the blood running down her face. She found the cubs huddled against the opposite wall. The fire was spreading toward them. Debris was falling from above. The air was so hot it burned her throat. She threw herself over them. Her body covered all three. She curled around them, making herself into a shell, a shield, a wall between them and the fire. The cubs pressed against her chest, their small bodies shaking. Their claws hooked into her shirt. Something hit her back. Hard. She felt metal slice through her skin. Felt blood, warm and wet, soaking through her clothes. But she did not move. She could not move. If she moved, the cubs would die. More debris fell. More metal. Each piece that hit her was like a hammer blow. She heard herself screaming, but the sound seemed far away, like it was coming from someone else. The fire roared overhead. She felt her hair catch flame. Felt her skin burn. The pain was beyond anything she had ever known. It was everything. It was the whole world, but under her the cubs were safe. Under her the cubs were alive. She held on. Time lost all meaning. Minutes became hours, became years. The fire burned. The station crumbled. And Megan Lawson stayed where she was, wrapped around three small bodies, refusing to die, refusing to let them die. At some point she stopped feeling the pain. At some point, darkness crept in at the edges of her vision. She knew what that meant. She was dying. Her body was giving up, but the cubs were still breathing. She could feel their small hearts beating against her chest. Fast, scared, alive, that was enough. She let the darkness take her. The rescue teams found her 16 hours later. The station was mostly destroyed by then. Fires had burned through half the corridors. Hundreds of people were dead or missing. It was the worst attack on a human installation in decades. They almost missed her. She was buried under so much debris that the scanners did not detect her at first. A search team was walking past when one of them heard something. A small sound. A whimper. They dug through the rubble. They found a pile of twisted metal and burned wreckage. And under that pile, they found her. Megan Lawson was not moving. Her body was broken in ways that made the rescue workers look away. Burns covered most of her back. Metal pieces stuck out of her spine. Blood had pooled around her and dried black, but she was still breathing, barely, somehow. And under her, pressed against her chest, 3 Vexari cubs were completely unharmed. They were crying those high-pitched wails that cubs made, but they did not have a single injury. Not one. The rescue workers called for medical support. They called for the Vexari delegation. They called for everyone. Ambassador Koroth arrived first. He ran through the corridors, pushing past humans and Vexari alike. He reached the scene and stopped. His cubs. His 3 children. The ones he had hidden in that storage room to keep them safe during the negotiations. The ones he had checked on every night. Never knowing that a human woman was also checking on them. They were alive, and the human who had saved them was dying. Koroth dropped to his knees beside Megan, his claws. Those claws that could cut through steel, touched her face with a gentleness that no one had ever seen from him. His amber eyes were wet. Vexari did not cry. Everyone knew that. Vexari were predators. Vexari were strong, Koroth cried. The medical team pulled Megan away from the cubs. They put her on a stretcher and rushed her toward the emergency ships. The doctors were shouting, calling for blood and surgery and things that might save her life. The odds were bad. Everyone knew the odds were bad, but as they carried her away, the smallest cub broke free from its father and ran after her. It grabbed onto the stretcher with its small claws and would not let go. It pressed its head against Megan's hand and made a sound that was not quite a word, but was close to one. The medics tried to pull the cub away. Koroth stopped them. "Let it stay," he said. His voice broke on the words. "Let it stay with her." The cub rode all the way to the medical ship, never leaving Megan's side. It was still there when they put her into the healing pod. It was still there when they put her to sleep. And across the station, in the chaos and the grief and the smoke, people started to hear the story. A human woman. 3 Vexari cubs. A body used as a shield. The story spread. First to the survivors. Then to the ships that came to help. Then to the news networks that covered the attack. Within hours, the whole galaxy knew. Megan Lawson did not know any of this. She was already deep in a coma, fighting for her life in the darkness. She did not know that she had just become the most famous human in the galaxy. She did not know that everything was about to change. The doctors gave her a 12% chance of survival. Megan Lawson lay in a medical pod on the ship's sanctuary. More machine than human now. Tubes ran into her arms, her neck, her chest. Machines breathed for her. Machines pumped her blood. Machines kept her heart beating when it wanted to stop. The damage was bad. The doctors had never seen anyone survive injuries like hers. 3rd-degree burns across 40% of her body. A severed spinal column. Shrapnel in her lungs, her liver, her kidneys. Internal bleeding that would not stop. Bones broken in so many places that the scans looked like puzzles. She should have died in that corridor. She should have died under that debris. By every medical measure, she should already be dead, but Megan Lawson was still breathing. The doctors worked on her for 14 hours straight. They rebuilt what they could. They removed the metal pieces one by one. They grafted new skin onto her burns. They fused her spine back together with synthetic material. They replaced parts of her organs with artificial versions. When they were done, they put her into a coma. Deep sleep. The only way to give her body time to heal. 4 months, they said. Maybe longer. Maybe forever. They did not know if she would ever wake up while Megan slept. The Galaxy Watch. Ambassador Koroth had the security footage from the corridor. The cameras had recorded everything before they were destroyed. Everything. The explosions. The fire. And a small human woman throwing herself over 3 Vexari cubs, covering them with her body as the world fell apart around her. He sent the footage everywhere. He sent it to every Vexari world. He sent it to every allied species. He sent it to the Galactic Council. He sent it to Earth. He wanted everyone to see. He needed everyone to see. The video was 3 minutes and 47 seconds long. It showed Megan running with the cubs. It showed the wall exploding. It showed her getting thrown to the ground. And it showed her getting back up, finding the cubs, and wrapping herself around them like a living shield. The footage showed her staying there as debris fell. Staying there as fire burned. Staying there as her body was broken piece by piece. She never moved. She never tried to protect herself. She just held those cubs and would not let go. Billions of beings across the galaxy watched that video. Billions wept. The Vexari had a word, Kethvor. It was old. From the ancient times when the Vexari were still tribal and wild. It meant one who guards the small. The protector of cubs? The shield of the weak. In all of Vexari history, only a few hundred individuals had earned that title. They were heroes, legends. Their names were taught to every cub from birth. They were the greatest of the great. Koroth went before the Vexari High Council. He showed them the video. He told them what Megan had done. And he asked them to give her the title. She is not Vexari, one council member said. She is prey. Koroth stood tall. His voice did not waver. She is not prey, he said. She is Kethvor. She is more Vexari than many who wear our scales. The vote took less than an hour. For the first time in their history, the Vexari named a non-Vexari as Kethvor. The news spread through their worlds like fire. A human had earned the highest honor their species could give. Earth responded. The United Nations called an emergency session. Representatives from every nation gathered to watch the footage. They watched it in silence. Many of them cried. This woman, the Secretary General said, represents the best of humanity. She did not ask what species those children were. She did not calculate the risk. She saw children in danger and she acted. This is who we are. This is who we must be. The vote was unanimous. Not a single nation disagreed. They created a new title, a new position. Guardian of Small, it had never existed before. They made it for her. The news reached the Galactic Council. The older species, the ones who had watched humanity with suspicion for decades, saw the footage. They saw a small, soft, fragile human taking injuries that would kill most beings, and refusing to stop protecting children that were not even her own species. The Arthani ambassador, a being who looked like a giant insect, spoke first. We called humans weak, she said. We called them prey animals pretending to be predators. We were wrong. The council passed a resolution. They officially recognized Megan Lawson as a hero of the galaxy. They sent medical supplies to the sanctuary. They sent their best doctors to help. On Vexari Prime, cubs started a new game. They called it Guardian. One cub would pretend to be injured or in danger, and another would throw themselves on top, protecting them. Parents watched and said nothing. It was not a bad lesson to learn. On Earth, people started wearing small symbols. A circle around a smaller circle. Protection, guarding. The symbol appeared on shirts, on buildings, on ships. Guardian of Small, it became a movement. It became a promise. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. All of them. Not just our own. Months passed. Megan slept. Her body slowly healed. The burns scarred over. The bones fused. The organs, both natural and artificial, started working together. The doctors watched her brain activity. She was not brain dead. She was dreaming. Sometimes her eyes moved under her closed lids. Sometimes her fingers twitched. She was in there somewhere, fighting her way back. The smallest cub, the one Megan had called Little One, refused to leave the medical ship. Koroth tried to take it home, but it screamed and cried and clawed at the doors. It wanted to stay with the human. It needed to stay. So the doctors let it stay. They set up a small bed next to Megan's pod. The cub slept there every night. Sometimes it pressed its face against the glass and made small sounds, like it was talking to her. The other two cubs visited often. They were older, more able to handle the separation, but they always came back. They would sit beside the pod and watch Megan breathe. Koroth came too. The mighty ambassador, the scarred warrior, sat beside a human woman and talked to her. He told her about his world. He told her about his mate who had died years ago. He told her about his cubs, how proud he was of them, how scared he had been when he hid them on the station. I thought they would be safe there, he said. I thought no one would find them. I was wrong about so many things. He held her hand sometimes. Her small, soft, human hand. He was careful with his claws. You saved them, he said. You saved my children. I do not know how to repay that. I do not know if it is possible. The machines beeped. Megan breathed. And across the galaxy people waited. 4 months became 5. 5 became 6. Then one morning Megan Lawson opened her eyes. The first thing Megan saw was flowers. They floated around her bed like a slow dream. Roses, lilac, strange blooms in colors she had never seen. They were not real holograms, but they were beautiful. Her throat hurt. Her eyes burned. Her body felt wrong, like it belonged to someone else. She tried to move and found that she could not. Machines beeped faster. Alarm sounded. A face appeared above her. A man, young, brown hair. Kind eyes that were full of tears. You are awake, he said. His voice shook. Oh God, you are actually awake. Megan tried to speak. Nothing came out. Her throat was too dry, too damaged. She made a sound like a croak. The man pressed a button. He spoke fast into a device on his wrist. She is awake. Tell everyone. She is awake. More faces appeared. Doctors in white coats. Nurses with careful hands. They checked her machines. They shone lights in her eyes. They asked her questions she could not answer. Someone gave her water through a small tube. It hurt going down, but it helped. She managed one word. Where. You are on the medical ship Sanctuary, a doctor said. You have been in a coma for 6 months. Do you remember what happened? Megan closed her eyes. She remembered fire, smoke, pain. The cubs. Her eyes flew open. She tried to sit up. The machine screamed. Hands pushed her back down. The cubs, she said. Her voice was a whisper. The cubs, are they are safe. The young man was back, holding her hand. They are safe because of you. They are all alive. Megan let herself fall back against the bed. She was crying. She did not know why. Her whole body was shaking. You saved them, the man said. He was crying too. You saved them and you almost died, and the whole galaxy knows. She did not understand. The whole galaxy. What did that mean? She was just a technician. She had just done what anyone would do. The door opened. More people came in. So many people. Megan did not recognize most of them. But one face made her stop breathing. Ambassador Koroth. The massive Vexari stood in the doorway, filling it completely. His 4 eyes were fixed on her. His claws flexed at his sides. She remembered those claws. Dangerous, the diplomats had said. Unpredictable. Koroth walked toward her bed. Everyone moved out of his way. He stopped beside her and dropped to his knees. His head lowered until his forehead touched her hand. Kethvor, he said. His deep voice cracked. Guardian, mother of my children. Megan stared at him. She did not know what to say. This did not make sense. Nothing made sense. Small shapes pushed past Koroth's legs. 3 of them. Vexari cubs. They scrambled onto the bed, ignoring the doctors who tried to stop them. They crawled over Megan's body and pressed against her, making sounds she had never heard before. Happy sounds? Relieved sounds. The smallest one, little one, pushed its face against her neck. It was crying. She could feel its tears on her skin. You came back, it said. Its voice was young and rough, barely able to form words. You came back, you came back, you came back. Megan wrapped her arms around them. It hurt, everything hurt. But she did not care. She held those 3 small bodies and cried with them. An older woman stepped forward. She wore a military uniform with many marks on it. Admiral Patricia Vance, she said. Earth Defense Fleet, it is an honor to finally meet you, Ms. Lawson. Megan looked at her. She still did not understand. Why was an admiral here? Why were so many important people here? She was nobody. She was just a technician who had made a bad decision to go down a restricted corridor. The admiral smiled. It was a tired smile, but warm. You do not know, she said. Of course you do not know. You have been asleep for half a year. Know what? Megan asked. Koroth lifted his head. He looked at her with those 4 amber eyes, and she saw something there she had never seen in a Vexari before. Love. The galaxy saw what you did, he said. They saw you burn for my children. They saw you break for my children. They saw you refuse to die until they were safe. The admiral nodded. Earth has given you a title. Guardian of Small. It is an official position now. The first of its kind, and my people, Koroth said, have named you Kethvor. The highest honor we can give? You are the first non-Vexari in our history to hold it. Megan's head was spinning. This was too much. It was all too much. I just did what anyone would do, she said. The room went quiet. Everyone looked at her. The admiral shook her head slowly. No, she said. You did what very few would do. Those cubs were not your species. They were not your children. Most beings in the galaxy would have saved themselves. You did not. Little one pressed closer to her. It looked up at her with those huge amber eyes. You are our mother now, it said. Father says so. You are Kethvor. You are ours. Megan looked at Koroth. He nodded. My mate died when they were born, he said. Cubs need a mother. They have chosen you? If you will have them. The tears came again. She could not stop them. She looked at the 3 small faces watching her. They were waiting, hoping, afraid she would say no. She pulled them closer. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I will have you. The cubs made sounds she had never heard before. Pure joy. They pressed against her so hard it hurt, but she did not mind. She would never mind. The next few weeks were strange. Megan had to learn to walk again. Her spine was mostly artificial now. Her left leg did not work quite right. She limped. The doctor said she always would, but she walked. She walked because the cubs needed her to walk. She walked because there was work to do. Messages came from everywhere. Earth, Vexari, Prime, a dozen other worlds she had never heard of. People wanted to meet her. Leaders wanted to thank her. News networks wanted interviews. She said no to most of them. She was tired. She just wanted to be with the cubs. Koroth gave them new names. Vexari names that honored her: Meganeth, Meganor, Meganite. The little one was Meganeth. The smallest. The bravest. The one who had refused to leave her side for 6 months. When the doctors finally said she could leave the medical ship, an entire fleet was waiting for her. Human ships. Vexari ships. Ships from species she did not recognize. They had come to escort her home, but where was home now? She did not know anymore. The answer came from an unexpected place. The Galactic Council sent a message. They wanted her to come to the capital. They wanted to make her position official. Guardian of Small would be a real title with real power, backed by the strength of multiple species. Megan read the message 3 times. She looked at Koroth. She looked at the cubs. Do I have to go alone? She asked. Koroth showed his teeth. It was a Vexari smile. You will never go anywhere alone again, he said. We are family now. Megan Lawson, former xenobiology technician, stood at the window of the flagship, carrying her toward the center of the galaxy. 3 cubs played at her feet. A Vexari ambassador stood at her side. She was going to speak to the most powerful beings in known space. She was going to accept a position that had never existed before. She was going to become something no human had ever been. She was terrified, but she was also ready. The Galactic Council chamber was the largest room Megan had ever seen. It was built inside an asteroid, hollowed out and filled with light. Thousands of beings sat in rising rows that curved around a central platform. Some looked almost human. Others had too many eyes, too many limbs, bodies made of crystal or gas or something she could not name. The air smelled different in different parts of the room, adjusted for each species that needed to breathe. Megan stood at the edge of the platform, looking up at all those faces. Her heart was pounding. Her palms were wet. The scars on her back ached the way they always did when she was nervous. Koroth stood on her right. Admiral Vance stood on her left. Behind her, somewhere in the observation gallery, 3 cubs watched with wide amber eyes. The council speaker was a being called Veth Moran, an ancient creature that looked like a tree made of silver. Its voice rustled like wind through leaves. We are gathered to recognize a new position, it said. Guardian of Small, a title created by humans and accepted by this council. Today, we formalize that title and grant it to the one who earned it. Megan stepped forward. Her leg ached. She ignored it. The speaker looked down at her. You are Megan Lawson, it said, human technician, survivor of the Koroth Prime attack? Is this correct? Yes, Megan said. Her voice was steady. She was surprised by that. You protected 3 Vexari cubs during that attack, the speaker continued. You used your body as a shield. You sustained injuries that should have killed you. The cubs survived without harm. Is this correct? Yes. Why did you do this? The question hung in the air. Everyone waited. Megan thought about all the answers she could give. The political answers. The diplomatic answers. The answers that would make her sound brave or noble or special. She gave none of those answers. They were scared, she said simply. They were children, and they were scared, and they needed help. What else was I supposed to do? The chamber was silent. Then, somewhere in the rows above, someone started clapping. The sound spread. More hands, more claws, more appendages joining in. The noise grew until it filled the entire room. The speaker raised a branch, and the applause died down. The title of Guardian of Small carries responsibilities. It said, You will be authorized to intervene when children of any species are threatened. You will have the backing of the Vexari Dominion and the United Earth. Fleet, you will speak for those who cannot speak for themselves, Megan nodded. I understand there are those who oppose this, the speaker said. A section of the chamber stirred. Megan saw beings that looked different from the others, harder, colder. They do not believe a human should hold such power. They do not believe this title should exist, one of those beings stood. It was tall and pale, with a face like a skull and eyes like empty holes. Megan recognized the species from her studies, Drellith, the same species that had bombed the station. The same species that had almost killed her, the Drellith ambassador spoke. Its voice was high and thin like metal scraping metal. This is a trick, it said. Humans are weak. Humans are prey. This female survived by luck, nothing more. We should not give power to luck, the chamber murmured. Some agreed. Some did not. Korath stepped forward. His claws flexed. His 4 eyes burned with anger. You dare, he said. His voice was a rumble of thunder. You bombed that station. You tried to kill my children. And now you stand here and call the woman who saved them lucky. The Drellith ambassador did not flinch. We did what was necessary. The Vexari are a threat. They always have been. We will not apologize for defending ourselves. By killing children, Admiral Vance said. Her voice was cold. That is your definition of defense. The Drellith turned those empty eyes toward her. Humans kill too. Do not pretend you are better than us. The argument was spreading. Voices rose. The chamber filled with anger and accusations. Megan watched it happen and felt something shift inside her. She limped to the center of the platform. Stop, she said. Her voice was not loud. She was not a speaker. She was not trained for this. But something about that single word cut through the noise. Everyone stopped and looked at her. Megan took a breath. Her scars ached. Her leg throbbed. She spoke anyway. I did not come here to argue, she said. I did not come here to blame anyone. I came here because someone has to stand up for the children. All of them. Every species. She turned to face the Drellith ambassador directly. I know what your people did, she said. I know your soldiers planted those bombs. I know they tried to kill everyone on that station, including 3 cubs who had done nothing wrong. The ambassador opened its mouth. Megan kept talking, but I'm not asking for revenge. I'm not asking for punishment. Those things do not bring back the dead. They do not heal the wounded. She took another step forward. Her body hurt. She did not care. I am asking for a promise, she said. I am asking you, right now, in front of the entire galaxy, to swear that your people will never target children again. Any species. Any world. Never again. The Drellith ambassador stared at her. Its skull face showed nothing. But its hands, those long pale hands, were shaking. You cannot make demands of us, it said. You are one human. You have no power. Megan smiled. It was not a happy smile. I have the Vexari, she said. She nodded toward Korath. The ambassador looked at the massive predator standing beside the platform. Korath bared his teeth. I have Earth, she continued. She nodded toward Admiral Vance. The Admiral crossed her arms. Behind her, the representatives of the Earth Defense Fleet stood ready. And I have something else, Megan said. She looked up at the gallery where the cubs sat. Meganith waved at her. She waved back. I have people who believe in what I am doing. Billions of them. On Earth, on Vexari Prime, on worlds you have never heard of. They are watching right now. They are waiting to see what you do. She turned back to the Drelite. So make your choice, she said. Give me your word that no child will fear your people again. Or explain to the galaxy why you refused. The chamber was completely silent. The Drellith ambassador stood frozen. Those empty eyes looked at Megan, then at Korath, then at the screens that showed the broadcast going out to trillions of beings across known space. It had no choice. Everyone knew it had no choice. The ambassador lowered its head. You have my word, it said. Its voice was barely a whisper. No child of any species will be targeted by the Drellith. I swear it before this council. Megan nodded. Then we are done here. She turned and walked back to her place. Her legs screamed with every step. She did not let it show on her face. The speaker spoke again. The vote is called. All who support the formal recognition of Megan Lawson as guardian of small dot hands rose. Claws rose. Tentacles and branches and appendages she could not name rose. The vast majority of the chamber was in agreement. The speaker bowed its silver head. It is done, it said. Megan Lawson, you are now officially recognized by the Galactic Council as guardian of small. May you protect them well. The chamber erupted in sound, cheering, roaring, clicking, and buzzing from species that did not have voices. It was overwhelming. Then something small broke through the noise. Megan looked up, just in time to see Meganith running toward her. The cub had escaped from the gallery somehow. It crossed the platform on unsteady legs, moving faster than she had ever seen it move. It crashed into her. Its small arms wrapped around her waist. Its face pressed against her stomach. Keth-vor, it said. Mother Guardian. You did it. Megan dropped to her knees. She pulled the cub close. The other two cubs appeared moments later, their father right behind them. They all gathered around her, a small circle of family in the middle of that enormous room. Koroth put his clawed hand on her shoulder. Thank you, he said quietly. For my children. For everything. Megan looked up at him. Her eyes were wet. Thank you for letting me be part of your family, she said. The broadcast went out to every corner of the galaxy. A human woman, kneeling on a platform surrounded by predator cubs. A moment of pure love in a universe full of conflict. On Earth, people cried. On Vexari Prime, warriors pounded their chests in salute. On 1,000 other worlds, beings of every shape and size watched that image and felt something change inside them. Maybe the galaxy was not so cold after all. Maybe there was hope. Megan Lawson stood up. She held Meganith in her arms. She looked at the council, at the cameras, at the billions watching. She did not give a speech. She did not make promises. She just smiled, a small tired smile, and said 4 words, I will protect them. And across the galaxy, humans smiled back. They knew she would.